All right, welcome back, Jeremy. It's time to pick some games, but Doyle may be able to pick winners. But if I'm given 2 words to describe what he looks like right now, flood victim.
Well, you talk about flood victim, and that brings it back to Noel 1625, who, when he's looking at himself in the mirror in his mom's basement, he probably feels like a flood victim sometimes too.
That is below the belt. Listen, we encourage feedback, like we said, GameweekCrew@AOL.com, or just leave feedback at the videos on YouTube. But please try to make it a coherent response if you do so. Our spotlight games. Number 23, Oregon, quarterback issues. They travel to USC. This could be a case of wrong place, wrong time facing USC, coming off that embarrassing loss in Corvallis. Jeremy, do the Ducks stand a chance, especially with the new quarterback they're breaking in Jeremiah, whatever his last name is?
Well, big-time Pac-10 title implications this week. I made the mistake last week of basically saying that USC was unbeatable in that conference. They're not. Oregon is a very talented team, but you got to look at just absolute anger and rage coming out from USC, and especially that defense. So it's going to be very tough for them. But when you look at this game, like I said, Pac-10 title implications, USC and Oregon do not play another ranked team for the rest of the year. Neither one of them. So when you look at this, the winner of this game with a big-time chance to run the table in that conference.
This is a night game, 8 o'clock kickoff in the Coliseum. USC, like we said, coming off the loss. Oregon's offense, surprisingly enough, averaging 47 points a game. I would venture to think that you don't see that happening this weekend against USC's defense.
Well, the USC defense that we just sit here and talk all about, they gave up 186 rushing yards to an undersized and some people think under-talented running back in Quiz Rogers.
Some people, those people would not be USC fans or players.
Right, but when you look at that, Oregon's running back is not that size. Okay? He's probably a lot more highly touted recruit wherever he comes from. But when you look at that, I still think Oregon hasn't played the game of their life, a perfect game to beat USC. There will not be another letdown for USC.
Let's shift our attention to Coral Gables. The Miami Hurricanes, fresh off a conference loss to North Carolina.
North Carolina, my bad. They're welcoming the Seminoles, FSU, Miami, a 2.5-point favorite, and Jeremy. Whereas 5 years ago, this would be unquestionably our spotlight game. We barely even have it on our radar this week. That's how far these two programs have fallen. Maybe a bounce back here for both. We'll see, but what do we see happening Saturday?
Well, you talk about being in Coral Gables. That does sound like a nice place to go and live for a condominium. But, that's on another note. When you look at Saturday, Florida State took a major step forward with a big win. Miami took a big step back. You look at them, and in the first half, we both sat there and watched that game. It looked like Miami was just going to run through North Carolina, but it was not the case. Big loss for Miami, big win for Florida State. And, we look at that conference in the ACC. My favorites were Wake Forest and Miami. Wake Forest proceeds to lose to Navy, and Miami proceeds to lose to North Carolina. Florida State looks impressive. You're wide open right now in that conference.
Good luck. Good luck picking the ACC winner right now. You mentioned a lot of things to do in Coral Gables. Apparently, one of those things is not going to Miami Hurricanes football games. 35,000 people in attendance, and that's the attendance figure the university gave us. For all we know, it was a Florida Marlins-like attendance figure in that North Carolina game. That is borderline embarrassing for a program with Miami's stature. You want big results? How about showing up and supporting your team first off? Both teams unproven at quarterback right now. Robert Marr, the touted freshman for Miami, still learning, still getting sort of baptized in the system, offensive system in major college football. The Seminoles, they look semi-impressive against Colorado. I picked them to win, but like I said, don't get too big ahead after that. Can they generate enough offense 2 weeks in a row?
Well, very impressive performance by the offensive line, where it all starts on offense. That offensive line for Florida State looked good. I picked Colorado to win this game. I thought they had a lot of momentum coming in. Florida State took care of business, which is what you have to do. So I like Florida State and the fact their offensive line played well. Momentum may be being a big key in this game. Florida State, like I said, coming off a big win, Miami a big loss. Momentum could factor into this game Saturday.
It's almost a pick 'em right now. Miami only a 2-point favorite in Vegas, and yes, you are hearing me correctly. Let's shift our attention to Nashville, Tennessee, not for anything to do with country music, but for college football as Auburn rolls into Vanderbilt. Auburn, a 4.5-point favorite, 13 ranked team in the country. They head into Vanderbilt, and Jeremy, Vanderbilt, a number 19 ranking. Hats off to the Commodores once again. But this begins the meat of their schedule. It's a primetime game. Vanderbilt coming off a bye week. You got to think Auburn's going to get Vandy's best shot.
Well, when you look atop the SEC East standings right now, you see the Vanderbilt Commodores. You talk about them being untested. They've already beat South Carolina, a respectable program. And how about them beating Ole Miss, who, you look at last week, Ole Miss knocks off Florida in the swamp. Vanderbilt is not a bad football team by any stretch of the imagination. They're led by their quarterback, Chris Nixon, on offense, who is the definition of a dual threat. 56 carries for 5 touchdowns rushing already, not to mention his touchdowns through the air. So Vanderbilt is not a team for Auburn to look over, but definitely the meat grind does start for the Commodores.
When we looked at Vanderbilt to start the season, when we looked at their team, the question was on offense. It was not on defense because of Bobby Johnson's squad, very seasoned. And you mentioned the fact that sometimes in the earlier broadcast, they hold their players back a little bit, for maybe academic purposes. So they always have a lot of junior and senior leadership on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. And Auburn, not exactly rolling on offense right now. Once again, last week, they barely escaped with a win. 1 offensive touchdown against Tennessee. That's going to be a tough test for Auburn, believe it or not.
Well, when you look at a defensive juggernaut such as Tennessee, 226 total yards of offense against Tennessee, not getting it done. Tony Franklin, I'm done talking to you on this program. Just ridiculous. Definite quarterback issues being talked about down there on the Plains. And really, you look at momentum. Vanderbilt coming off a bye week. They may be the team to beat in this ballgame.
I mean, last year, if I told you Auburn was going to be a 4.5-point favorite against Vandy, you definitely slap me in the face and call me crazy. But that is the state of college football right now. Those are our 3 spotlight games. We'll single out some more matchups in our picks later on. But right now, it is time for the segment that is taking America by storm. Friend of the Week with Ryan Doyle. Let's send it to him now.
I like Chex Mix, and here are some of my friends that I like this week. Jacquizz Rodgers from Oregon State, 37 carries, 186 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. The Alabama offensive and defensive line both dominated them Georgia Bulldogs down in Athens in that big win. Sam Bradford from Oklahoma was 19 from 34 passing and 411 yards with 4 touchdowns. Freaking beast. And another beast is Evan Royster from Penn State, 19 carries for 139 yards and 7.3 yards per carry. Very impressive, guys. And now it's y'all's time. Timeout. This week we're going to go with Riley Skinner. 4 interceptions and a fumble. Ridiculous for one person. Tommy Bowden lost to Maryland. Dude, he's going on. Dude, he might stay there with Phil this week. Wisconsin's whole team is going in there for losing against Michigan. That cost me some picks this week, friends. And then Urban Meyer is going in there for the huge loss at home. You can't lose to Ole Miss at home. And then we got Jonathan Crompton with 67 yards passing. Ridiculous from a quarterback. Wide receivers pass for that much yards sometimes. Then, like I said earlier, Phil Fulmer is staying in timeout. He might stay there the rest of the year if he keeps on going the way he's going. How do you like that there, friend? You like those people that are going in timeout? Yes, I like those very, very much. Those are very good picks. And they might need to stay in there for the next couple of weeks if they don't do no better. I'm such an animal lover. Back to you guys. That's not nasty either. Back to you.